Wolves have just beaten Liverpool 3-0. In fact, change that. Wolves have just battered Liverpool 3-0. And that result is actually a catalyst to now ask a question that I never thought that we would ask. Jurgen Klopp, is it time for him to be moved on? Do we at least need to explore whether Liverpool need somebody different, whether Jurgen Klopp needs a new challenge? The first thing that we have to establish on this channel is that Jurgen Klopp is an elite manager. He is arguably the best manager in the world. But sometimes things have a shelf life. Sometimes situations need to be evolved. They need to keep moving. And maybe it's got to the stage where Jurgen Klopp, despite the obvious brilliance, despite the fact that he is clearly still at the top of his game, and despite the fact that any club or country that were to secure his services, their future is so bright, maybe the time has come for him to move on from Liverpool. For the record, I think that Liverpool would be wild. I think that they should preserve their relationship with Klopp ahead of any other relationship at the club. I think the relationship with Klopp is paramount to their future success. That is where I sit on this. But I also think that it's time to explore it. It's time to have the conversation. Any other club that has ever been in this sort of form, we would always talk about the manager. We would always ask the question around the manager. And therefore, I think we need to do the same with regard to Jurgen Klopp. Obviously, this result at Wolves will be billed as a shock. It's a shock. Liverpool have been beaten by Wolves. Liverpool have lost at Molineux. Liverpool have conceded 3 goals at Molineux. And obviously, on some level, it is shocking. But on another level, it's actually no surprise at all, is it? Anybody that's seen Liverpool play in recent weeks, it's no surprise at all that they have been beaten so heavily at Molineux. You know, when Chelsea fans were trying to find some sort of glory and trying to use a good result at Anfield as a reason to be positive, in any WhatsApp group I'm in where Chelsea fans were going, we played really well at Anfield. We took the game to Liverpool at Anfield. Like, Anfield is always a difficult place to go, of course, but on the scale of Anfield always being a difficult place to go, it's the easiest that it could be. They're a club in disarray. They're a club that feel rudderless at the moment. Jurgen Klopp, weirdly for him, seems to be out of answers. And the fact that his side have left Molineux on the wrong hand of a hiding with a 3-0 scoreline that actually flatters them is humiliating. When you think about what Klopp has done in his career, when you think about the level that Klopp has been able to get his team to, the question then becomes, is he able to get there again? Because there is no way that Jurgen Klopp should be listening to home fans of a club who, potential relegation. They're singing that he's getting sacked in the morning. Like something isn't right. Something isn't going well. Because it's not an exaggeration to say that Liverpool are currently a complete mess. They are so wasteful at one end. They are so porous and vulnerable at the other. And they have managed to accrue 8 points out of a possible 30 away from home in the Premier League this season. 8 out of 30. When you think about the heights of Jurgen Klopp's teams, when you think about the heights that Liverpool have reached under Klopp, 8 points out of 30, they're fragile. They're rudderless. There's no leaders. They don't really know what they're doing. And I often say that the word crisis is used too much in football. But I do now wonder if Liverpool are they potentially in a crisis? When you think about where they sit in the league, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that Liverpool could finish in the bottom half of the league table. The last time that they finished in the bottom half of the league table was in 1954. That stat in itself would suggest that something is going massively wrong. Look, we have to acknowledge, Wolves, of course, were great, right? It's a magnificent way for them to climb out of the relegation zone, and they were superb. They completely outplayed Liverpool. Liverpool felt like a faded entity. And when you think that they were within 2 games of winning the lot last season, maybe that is why. Maybe those heights took so much. Maybe it was so draining last season that this season it was almost impossible to keep going. And perhaps Liverpool will come back even stronger next year under Klopp. I believe that is a genuine possibility, in fact. But something is going so wrong this season, and I don't know what it is. Like Liverpool, when they're good, when Klopp's game plan works to a plumb, which it generally does up until this year, I think the reason why Liverpool win games is because they dominate the midfield. They bully the midfield. They are almost unplayable in midfield. Even when they come up against midfields that are perhaps more technically gifted, the Klopp press, the Klopp rock and roll style of football doesn't allow them to be beaten. And the Fabinho, Henderson, Milner, they fight. They're so tenacious. They win the midfield battle, and therefore they generally had a propensity to win the game. Like their midfield was totally all over the place today. Like totally all over the place. Like Mario Lemina, best midfielder on the pitch by a mile. He bossed everything. Liverpool had no answers. Like that shouldn't be happening. Like don't get me wrong, Lemina had a good game, good player. But you know what I mean? Like this is unacceptable, isn't it? It's all very well. I'm kind of doing for Liverpool what frustrates me when people do it for Chelsea. Like Chelsea have a terrible result against Fulham. People go, well, Fulham are a good team. Or we have a terrible result against Brighton, and people go, well, Brighton are the best run club in the country. I don't care. I don't care how well Brighton have run. I don't care how good Fulham are looking. I don't care how good or how difficult it's going to be to go to West Ham next week. Chelsea win those games. Therefore, Liverpool have the same policy. They don't care how good Mario Lemina is. Don't care how difficult it is to go to Molineux. Don't care how good Lopetegui is as manager. They're Liverpool and they beat Wolves at Molineux. Simple as that. So I don't really know how they're going to go from here because Wolves look like a team and Liverpool look like a sulky collection of players. It's the lowest point that Liverpool have been in since 2015. There feels like there's just uncertainty all over the place. And that stems from the very top. The club are officially up for sale, but I think that's having a drastic impact on what's going on the pitch. They've bought players, they've spent money, they've spent, £200 million on 3 strikers across the last 3 windows. 2 of them, by the way, have been Jurgen Klopp's men. And they're miles off. Like Gakpo. I thought Gakpo was a jewel in the crown of that Dutch team at the World Cup. He did not look good. Darwin Núñez has become a parody, hasn't he? He's become a punchline. They kept Salah as well. I mean, what has happened to him, by the way? What has happened to Salah? So I really don't know where to go from here. But I do now wonder if it is becoming untenable for Klopp. It isn't about Klopp's ability. Klopp's obviously an elite level manager who will go on to manage at the very top tier again. I believe Jurgen Klopp will win another Champions League in his career. But I also believe that there is a shelf life for good managers. And we've seen it with virtually every single manager. Every single manager, maybe with the exception of Alex Ferguson. Arsene Wenger stayed longer than he should have done at Arsenal. Jose Mourinho has been sacked twice by Chelsea. There have been countless examples of managers staying longer than they should have done because fresh ideas, relationships get stale, people fall out, they get fractured, these relationships. And I now wonder if there is a conversation around Klopp's future at Liverpool. Like I say, I think that they'd be mad. I think that they need to preserve relationship with Klopp over anyone. Anyone at the club, Jurgen Klopp stays. Who don't you want here, Jurgen? And let him be the genesis of a new looking Liverpool. But that's almost impossible to happen. You can't sack a squad, and the board are untouchable until they're sold. Therefore, I wonder, where do you sit on this? I'm kind of putting this out more as a question. Do you believe it's time for Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool to part company? Thank you for watching this video. Very interested to see the comments on this one. So please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Have a good evening, I guess. Crazy result.